Hey, welcome to the first, I guess, edition of, we're real original around here and about 2 years behind on our terminology. So we call this one Spilling the Tea in Studio D. So we appreciate you guys coming in this morning. Darren Beckwith, the director here at Dawson Co-op, and of course, Candace Bennett. She's our Teacher Center Coordinator and Assistant Director. So Candace, I'll let you introduce our guest this morning.
All right, and guys, Studio D, that, tends to be Studio Dawson, but it can also stand for Studio Darren. So I'm really excited.
I was thinking something.
Yeah,
But
I was too. I was trying to keep this PG. So.
yeah, PG, you've been warned. No, I'm super excited to have our first guest here from my alma mater, Malvern Leopards. And we have today with us, we have Manuel Bulhoes, who's assistant principal at Malvern High School, and Mr. Ritchie Holliman, who is also assistant principal at Malvern High School. Poor Jennifer Schneickel, that's all I'm going to say. And we can't wait to just kind of sit and chat with you guys. And I've known Manuel for a long time. He and I used to teach together. I'm sure he's going to tell on me a little bit, but maybe not.
No,
So he's like, I can't
you're a good
wait.
teacher.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Candace is great.
Thanks, Ritchie. Thank you. So, all right.
Well, actually, I have a tie to Malvern in that, believe it or not, Candace and I began our teaching career student teaching together. So I student taught at Malvern.
Oh, okay.
And I was at Magnet, but
with Brian Golden. So many years ago, what is it? We're in year 26, right?
Yeah, let's date us.
Yeah.
Old people.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, career 2 for me, but we started 26 years ago. Worked with, back then, Judy Bonds, Daryl Baker, Coach Alpy. So good times back then. But I tell you what, it was, for me, it was a great experience. Back then we had to do like 10 hours of observation, done that, relatively at small schools. So when I got to Malvern, I really did enjoy that experience over there for lots of reasons. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
So we got that in common.
I was K-12 Malvern and then ended up going back and teaching there for 3 years, which was strange because I see my students now who are only like 5 years younger than me, which is bizarre. But I loved it and taught with all my old teachers, which that's a little bizarre as well. And then left and
Yeah,
taught
you were
it.
one of the smart ones. You got out of college in like 3 years.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah.
Wow.
I tell people all the time, I got into education for the money because I was actually, radio television was my first degree. And so working in radio, huge pay raise to get into education. And my first, and to tell you how big, my first contract that I inked in education was for $22,000. So that I'll tell you something about radio back in the day.
Yes.
So who wants to go first? Kind of tell us about your background and why you got into education.
Okay. I am former military, so I retired from military in 2003 after coming from Iraq. So I was over there for Iraqi freedom, and my sister was sick with cancer, and she said, "You've always been like the mentor for kids for every little summer program or whatever." She's like, "I think that you should be a teacher," and so I said, "Yeah, it's something to think about." And so, as she got to stage 4, I sort of said, "You know what? I'm going to do it." And so I retired, and I did troops to teachers, and I retired and did troops to teachers down in Atlanta. So I moved from Tennessee. I was at Austin Peay State University in Tennessee, and went down to Atlanta and went to Mercer University in their teaching program and started teaching in 2005, 2006 timeframe, and been doing it ever since. It's reward. I think the best reward that I've got as a teacher is when I see students after the fact. When I see people in their vocations, or when I'm out with my kids and they're like, "Oh, you used to teach them," because they'll come up, "Mr. Holliman, Mr. Holliman." And so I think that's the most rewarding thing, especially when you see them prospering and doing well in their lives.
Yeah, I had an encounter last week. I was telling Candace with the former. So you're right, that never gets old. I think I always told folks, once you get into this profession, if you impact one kid, you've done a great thing. But
Amen.
I think any teacher that you talk to, it's obviously it's going to be more than one, and we've all got stories we could share about that. The troops to teachers thing, is that something that's still going on? Or?
It is. It's kind of a special program. It's probably one of the Veterans Association administration's programs that allows you to receive funding because paying for college is pretty expensive, and so when you get out, it kind of you run out of your if you run out of your VA funding, it comes on and they give you a stipend and help you with your program. So it helped me immensely down there at Mercer because Mercer's a private school and it's kind of expensive. So it was a great thing to have.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it's my turn. I'm far less interesting than he is.
He's loving this.
He's a
Don't let him
good-looking
fool
man.
you. He is loving this.
So this is my 20th year in education. Probably, I guess this is year 8 at Malvern. So I kind of spent 6 years at Pine Bluff, then 3 years at Lakeside. Then I started my administrative career at Sylvan Hills Middle School. And then made it to Malvern. And so it was kind of a neat deal because, I'd lived close there, knew about Malvern, but getting to work there is just, you work with great people. I mean, if you know Jennifer Schneickel, I don't just say it because she's going to listen to this.
Yeah, she really is great.
Great person to work with. She gives you the autonomy to do your job. So, but Mr. Holliman and I have been working together for 2 years now. This is his second year with us, and it was it's always nerve-wracking when you have a change just because you don't know what it's going to be like. And so you want a personality fit. You want be able to have the mindset. And actually, the only question I asked at the interview was, "Can you take a joke?"
It was the final question, in fact.
Can you take a joke? Because we make fun of each other. That's
Yeah.
and
You got to laugh or you go crazy.
that's right. And I tell people the reason we bought Mr. Holliman on is if you know Ben Dial, he's kind of a big fella,
Right.
and so teachers are getting upset at potlucks that we were running out of food. So we're like, we're going to bring Holliman on. He's going to eat far less at the now. But to give him credit, he's actually lost about 70 pounds, and so
Wow.
I joke around. He's lost a third grader, which he would say I know what the size of a third grader is because I am
Right.
the size of a third grader. So.
Well, props. That's awesome.
You bring up a interesting point, I think, as far as the team dynamic and the importance of that. Because the work, I think a lot of times, especially these last couple of years, just what a pressure cooker it can be some days. And at the end of the day, the things that it's physically demanding for sure, but the emotional and those things all pour into the funnel. But at the end of the day, just to sit down, unwind, and be able, as Candace said, to kind of, not only laugh, but to kind of laugh at yourself and be able to take, as Clint Eastwood always says, you take your job very serious, but you can't really take yourself too seriously.
As
Right.
Clint Eastwood said, a man's got to know his limitations.
Exactly.
And I go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Ritchie.
I was gonna say that I think I was thinking about when as you were talking, I was thinking about one of the rap songs that's out now. I think it's Coming In Hot, and Manuel's always very good, and he's got me where I'm more laid back. So now I'm kind of worried about my blood pressure because I'm like I don't want to be laid back like that. But when you're dealing with your students, when you're dealing with people, when you're dealing with parents, you have to not come in hot. You have to come in with the willingness to be receptive to what's coming at you, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. You have to be receptive to what's coming in. So if you come in sort of low key, it's better to hear problems or situations and help you reach solutions quicker.
Yeah, it's hard to do that sometimes, human beings, but you are exactly right.
When
Exactly.
they come in, that fire's going to burn out eventually, and a lot of times they just want you to hear them.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
I've learned that
Is
throughout.
just listen and you talk about the team dynamic of it. The one thing I think is great, and the one thing that we wanted of a team member was the ability to just share ideas.
Right.
So we throw out ideas, and
Yeah.
Miss Snikel's going to poke a hole in everything, and which is good because she's seeing it from a perspective we're not, and letting us not. I come up with what I think is a great idea, and then she's like, "Well, what about that?" And you're like, "Yeah,
Like,
think
hey,
about that."
yeah.
And so,
You know, Manuel, which he knows this, but we taught together at Lakeside, and I had taught for 15 years, and I'd had my, you know, master's in administration, and you know, I love teaching, and I just feel like, you know, sometimes God puts people in your lives to give you that push and give you that. Manuel came up to me one day and he was like, you know, he's like, Benton, they've got this math science curriculum coordinator position open. And I'm like, really? And so, you know, of course we talk about it or whatever, and lo and behold, I end up over there for a couple of years and then get right into administration. So I credit him a lot for kind of giving me that nudge, you know.
she was just tired of being pranked. That's what it was.
Hey, listen, we had some good pranks. Have you heard about our pranks?
I've heard about some of your pranks.
Well,
I know that this guy, he's the prankster.
Did you start it?
I think I might have started. I put a cell phone in her ceiling, above the ceiling tile, and called it outside her room, you know. And so she was ready to. Hayden Boulding was the kid at the time. He's a police officer in Benton now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she's ready to read him the riot act because his phone's just ringing. And she's, bring me your phone. I don't have a phone. Bring me your phone. Of course, we're standing outside just laughing.
The kids are all looking at the door. I mean, I remember it to this day because I'm like, Hayden, I'm like, really, just give me the phone. And then I was getting mad. And I'm like, fine, if I have to get Miss Blagg in here, I've got to teach, guys, because I was up teaching. And they're all like, Miss Bennett, Mr. Bulhoes, he's at the door. And I'm like, what? And so then when I open the door and he's rolling and the kids start busting out laughing. So I think I got him back. I think I got you
something
back.
on my desk or something,
Yeah,
like a buzzing.
I don't know if I can say this. It's PG, but anyway, I had a kid. Crazy story that had gotten in trouble in my class because of a remote control fart machine, and so I then call the parent who I had a good relationship with, and I had her other son. I'm like, hey, you know that remote control fart machine? Can I borrow that because this is what Mr. Bulhoes just did to me? And she was laughing, sure. And so we got him in the middle of class, but.
Now, the funny part of that is I walked down the hallway. I'll confess, I left my kids unattended. Coach Hobbs was across the hall. But so I'll go down the hall to say, ha ha, you got me. Well, Babs Blagg was standing at my door. And if you know her, actually, I just told a story about her today. But if you know her, that's an intimidating person to walk back to. So, you know, kind of tail tucked between my legs. And
She's amazing. I love working for her.
Yeah, I spent time at Lakeside as well. You know, I was that's where I got into admin. Started as the assistant middle school principal. Was principal there. Went to high school for 2 years before I took my first soup job at Fountain Lake, and and then after Benton, you know, that's when Candace came over. And but you talk about teamwork. That was one of the better ones. I would say when I left Fountain Lake was a great team over there. And,
I would agree.
And but I mean, to me, the thing about that is you talked about poking holes in it. That's what I used to tell them. Hey, let me be the no guy. I mean, just bring anything in here. Yeah. And I think you have to create that in order, you know, for everybody to be at peak performance. Let them know that the door's open, nothing's off the table. Now, I've heard some pretty crazy ideas from time to time, but still, we were able to flesh it out. But being able to come to work and have that, and knowing, you know, picking each other up when they're down, that kind of stuff. So, just real important to be able to do that, and you know, pranking each other, that's part of it.
Hey, and we still had good test scores. Well, at least I did. You were in a non-tested subject, so you had a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
Yes.
You went under the radar.
Keep the kids in the class and teach them something.
Yeah.
We just didn't go over the top, but you know, the kids, and I think, and the kids enjoy it because, you know, I saw Hayden. Was at the hospital for my grandmother one night, and Hayden happened to be there, and I kept looking at him, and he was like, and I was thinking, is that Hayden? And because they grow up from 8th grade, you know, 8th and 9th grade, and he was like, hey, Miss Bennett, and so we got to talking, and he was like, do you remember? I said, yes. I said, Mr. Bulhoes and I talk about that all the time.
The crazy thing is he was our SRO for a year when he was in Malvern. And so he worked at the high school when we were on our temporary campus. And so it was kind of course, he told everybody, all the teachers, that I was the one kid I ever said shut up to was Hayden. And I mean, I can still remember it to this day. But, he was happy to share that with everybody. He told me to shut up.
Hey, speaking of, y'all need to talk about the new, like all the new stuff y'all got going on with your buildings, and they're awesome.
Well, we just had our building renovated, and this is our second year in the building. And I think it's one of the pieces that has attracted a lot of new students because we've had an influx of new students coming from our surrounding schools coming to join us as of late. We're getting a lot of technology. I think just about every classroom has a Promethean board. The real
panels.
The panels. They're real high tech, real nice ones. The ability to have technology with this demographic of kids, this age of 21st century children, is mind blowing and impactful to what they can accomplish and what they can do, what you can do in the classroom. And I think it allows you to explore every option, every aspect of education when you do that, when you have technology, because they're that kid that has technology with them all day, every day. So,
And just talk about our new facilities. I mean, you graduated from there, but not too long ago, you had Bill Hunt, and then you had a dirt parking lot there, and to see that on Main Street, just in the 8 years I've been there, it's pretty remarkable with the Leopard Center, the new admin
beautiful.
building, the safe room, which we have our own clinic on campus there. I mean,
It was pretty cool. When you guys took me on that tour, I was like, oh my gosh, it was really great just to see it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I can remember my first year being at Bill Hunt in August watching volleyball and kids falling out because it's so hot in there, and the ball rolling out on Main Street because you had to leave both doors open. So just and then obviously the press box now with the football stadium and how that's been redone. I mean, it's pretty remarkable, the transformation in a short period of time.
Well, and it's also, I mean, talk about the morale piece for the teachers. I mean, when they have that technology, I feel like when they have that at their disposal, I think it uplifts them and really and truly, it inspires them to want to go out and like you said,
they come to work every day. I mean, it's something that they can see in their classroom, and they know that they are impacting the lives of their students. So, I mean, I was thinking about one of the other things, our cafeteria. When you walk in our cafeteria, it looks like a college cafeteria.
Right.
So, folks walk in. I've given families a tour, and they're like, "Wow, this is so awesome. It's nice."
Yeah, it's super nice. And it's just so funny because, I went to school there a long time ago. So a long time ago. So when I was there, I was a Pratt brat. I was Pratt Elementary, and where the middle school is now was Pratt Elementary. So it's really neat to see how it's evolved, and
it's kind of where you have to be, though, in a competitive environment. I mean, you have to offer those facilities. There's certain things that we can't, but I mean, that's the thing. Just at our school in particular, being able to offer, we're still a small school, about 600 kids at the high school, maybe a little less, but we're able to offer so many different programs through our ROTC program, band, choir, obviously, but just sports teams, we do tennis, golf, and all those things. And so for a small school to be able to offer all these opportunities, pretty exciting for the kids.
Right. And again, like you're saying with the technology, we do training up here with the teachers, and I think we even see that paradigm shift where the reason they want to know is because they know the kids are going to know. So they, I mean, not only do they want to be trained up, but they want to be trained up ahead a little bit. And they realize that it's near impossible. I mean, if they can just stay even with some of these kids, they feel like they've at least climbed part of the mountain. But again, I think it's a good thing because it's here, it's now, it changes every day. And so if they attack it with that mindset, I think the least that the school districts can do is strive to, put that technology in the teachers' hands, because like you're saying, it's competitive out there. And if the districts don't have that, they know they can go down the road probably, 10, 15 minutes somewhere and probably find somebody that has that.
And I just, in my mind, I think I talk like we rotate year to year. Like this year, I've got the freshmen and the juniors, and he has the sophomores and the seniors, and then we'll rotate next year. And I think one of the discussions that you have with kids is like, the importance of having an education it's a foundation. It's somewhere for you to springboard. It's like a diving board. You can jump from here and go other places faster, easier. Right. But if you don't have that, then it's a struggle. And so that's one of the discussions that you have with kids. when you have kids that are trying to think about dropping out or anything like that, those are the kind of discussions you have with them. I'm like, this is the importance of having it. It's a foundation for you to stay, just for you to bounce off of there to go and do other things with your life.
That's right.
Right. And I think sometimes kids today even, they lose that perspective of just exactly what you're talking about, the importance of a high school diploma.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a shift right now. You know, people are looking, you know, that career and technical piece is coming back into the conversation. But in order really and truly to dive into that, a high school diploma is going to be a building block. You're still going to be able to advance quicker than somebody that's dropped out.
It identifies you. You know, most HR departments are going to look at what is this piece of whatever they have to identify you. Resume, yeah, that's fine, but that you've completed something. It
Right.
shows that you have that ability to start something and complete it. So it identifies you who you are.
And that's I have a conversation with my own son, who's a sophomore. Is, you know, he likes to point out people who didn't graduate high school.
Right.
Or, you know, I said, you're always going to have those outliers, and having those conversations with kids. Yes, this is not going to say you're not going to be successful,
Right.
but you're limiting your chances of being successful.
Right.
Right.
And so I just think, you know, continue to have those conversations of the
Sure.
importance of doing it.
Getting on a personal level, just kind of let everybody get to know y'all other than school. But what's like one of your favorite things to do?
I think we both like to fish.
Who's the better fisherman?
I think he goes more often.
Okay, we know the answer then.
I like to bowl a little bit, just a little bit. I'm more of a gym rat. I like to go to the gym and sort of lift weights and, you know, that kind of thing.
That's how you best way to relieve stress.
Oh, yes,
Fishing
it relieves a
and
lot
gym.
of stress. Yeah.
I pretty much stick to watching sports, following sports. Of course, now, you know, probably the most fun I have is watching my own kids, you know, seeing, well, Candy used to see my little boy come. He was you know, a little tiny fella. When he was 4, he went to pre-K at Lakeside, and now, you know, you look at him, he's 5'10", 220 pounds. He's a starting center on the football team, you know, so.
I know Sarah's like, oh my gosh, Jack's just grown up.
Grown man I live with.
Yeah, we try to get together once
Yeah.
a year or so at least and catch up. But yeah,
Of course, my 9-year-old's almost the same size.
He's a big boy, too.
you're going to be the shorty of the
Yeah.
family. Yeah.
Probably by the end of his 4th grade year, I'll be.
You're okay with it. It's all right.
Yeah, it'll be
So
fine.
I did
I've always
hear
been
a story of your kids. Y'all would love to hear this probably, but
What
maybe
about
ice skating on your swimming pool.
You can't tell things like that. Stuff like that gets out. That's how phone calls are made.
That's right.
Yeah, they may or may not have been
May or may not.
skating across during our big snowstorm.
I think you were busted
Wow.
out on Facebook, so I think we're good.
Must have been my wife.
Yeah.
Your better half for sure.
So let's just ask this question. Let's talk about the best and worst piece of advice that you've ever gotten.
I would say, and this actually, I'll give credit to Bruce Orr, was the beginning administrator. I think you were at that meeting as well, when he talked about when he took over as assistant principal at Lakeside, and he was going to be the dress code guy, you know, because the teachers were complaining, and so he was going to take care of it. And then he said, you know, you sit back and you realize, you know, I'm making a mountain out of a molehill basically, and you know, dealing 2 hours with parents over Susie's
Right.
shorts being too short,
Right.
and so, but he talked about, you know, it's okay to step back from it and make your decision. You don't have to constantly be,
Right.
you know, on it. And so that was probably the best piece of advice I got.
I think Dr. Joyce Clark, when I started teaching in Atlanta, Georgia, gave the piece of advice that she says, never go into a classroom where you're not in charge of the classroom. And I was like, huh? And it makes sense now, you know, like all these years later. It's like when you go into the classroom, you take command of the room, and you are the one that make the lessons. You are the one who guides and does the tutelage for the children. So I think that was the best piece.
And not to steal your thunder, but I obviously am smart, because I gave a teacher that advice as well one time, and it was like, I was telling him, I'm like, you got to be in charge. This is your room.
It's your room.
And she kept sending kids out, and I said, nothing's going to change until, and so when it clicked for her, which was probably the next year, you know, she came and she was like, I get what you mean. Like, it was simple, but it was, the
Right.
meaning of it was until you get the confidence,
Right.
you got to
That's right.
take control.
And the worst piece of advice.
When somebody said you should go teach. That's
The worst piece of advice is when Darren said, "Hey, do you want to do a podcast?" And I'm like, "I'm an old math nerdy, little quiet,
Yes.
she's not as quiet as she says.
whatever."
No, I know that. Yeah,
I used to be
most
quiet.
days we're like, okay, time's up.
Time's up.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna lie, I might be a little bossy at times.
I'm trying to think of bad advice.
It doesn't have to be related to education.
My wife got bad advice when someone told her to marry me, but
Yeah. I think that I think someone told me once that I needed to bring it down some or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't really get their meaning, but then after talking with him and lately hearing about this coming in hot thing, and I was like, and de-escalating, looking at current events when you look at about de-escalation and everything, just learning to manage that. And I think the worst advice was, to bring it down as opposed to being able to manage it. I think that's probably the worst advice I've ever gotten.
just trying to think. What about you guys?
Well, I would say, as far as education, it's kind of exactly like you guys were saying. It's really a lot of things. Betty Hightower was the person that I worked with at the middle school at Lakeside. And she said, very few things have to be determined right now. She said, very few things are life or death. So you don't. And so that's kind of where Bruce got it, because I brought Bruce to Lakeside. That was his first position. So if you knew Lakeside at the time, I mean, it was very, I guess you would say, tradition rich, right? So here's a guy coming from the middle school that, quote unquote, knows nothing about a high school, and bringing in this rookie that knows nothing about administration. And so we closed the door, kicked our feet up on the desk, and go, what do you think they're thinking about a guy from Cutter and Bismarck running Lakeside at this time? So, but that was probably the best advice. And kind of like your coming in hot thing, sometimes I don't know if it's advice as much as it is a challenge to me when somebody says, we can't do that, or we shouldn't do that. I think about some of the times at Fountain Lake, conversion charter comes to mind. We had several people tell us, well, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. And so I guess, we had to go before the state board and all that. And one of the things that we started with the middle school, went back with the high school. And one of the quotes that I said to them was the state board. I said, people used to call us crazy. I said, but now they're just calling us.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of one of those things. I mean, don't back me in a corner and say we can't do something.
When you look at it, when people say you can't do something, it's always, well, we have to progress to here, because the whole point is to progress.
Right.
And if you can't, and that's more, it's like a obstacle in the way of your progress. And I think that we should always, that's why it came in good what Manuel was talking about earlier, taking ideas from everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
It's good that it's always to surround yourself with smart people. That way you get better decisions.
Right.
Absolutely. And I tell people that all the time. I mean, probably one of my best traits is an eye for talent. And then, you hire them and get out of the way, because some people have a tough time doing that. They get great people in, but they want to still kind of be in control. And if you do that, then there's no need to hire those people. If you still like
Exactly.
if you still feel like you have to make those decisions, then you shouldn't have hired that person to begin with. And I've always felt that way.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, we're supposed to put y'all on the spot. You're not supposed to put us on the spot. But I'm just like,
It works
sitting
better
here-
that way.
I know. I'm just sitting here thinking, I mean, it's just, I always feel like, and Darren and I have talked about this a lot, and I feel like, God puts you in certain places, and I never thought I'd be in 5 different school districts. I thought, oh, well, I'll just retire here, or whatever. And I see how all that has played into the role that I'm in now, and how it's helped me such a great, in a great way. And I don't know, to sit and I've gotten so much great advice from so many people. I'm sitting here thinking of something that's quick. I mean, I can bust out Donald Westerman, and he used to always tell me when I was assistant principal, my first getting into administration, and it's position, not the person. Position, not the person. And he may have heard that from Darren too, and that has stuck with me. And I used to tell myself that all the time when I felt myself getting worked up. Position, not the person. And of course, I'm sitting here looking at Darren, but there's so much that he's so great about sending just a devotion that I need at the right time, and things that I've carried on one word. We're doing that with our staff. I mean, I could just go through the list. I mean, stuff Manuel's done. I mean, I could go through every school district and 2 or 3 people that have impacted me in such a great way and have made me the educator that I am today, and so appreciative. So
I think this is like my 4th district, but I can say Malvern is home. That's one of the things that Ms. Schneickel, one of the things, I think my first, day off or whatever, or vacation per se, I got back and she was like, "Welcome home."
Oh.
And I was like, she does that, and it feels like home. I mean, we're like a family, and I like it that way.
And that's awesome. That's what's great. And I told him, his first summer is, once you're here, you're here. Once you're a leopard, you're a leopard. And people are they don't look at you, oh, you're from Little Rock, or you're, you're just part of the family, which is our theme this year, is family. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, speaking of Sniple, I'm sure she has her hands full with the 2 of you.
Her hands are she's sort of pushed away from us. She has a new love of her life. She's got a new grandbaby, so
she's what Ritchie's mom said. She's gonna fall in love all over again.
Fall in love all over again. So that's where she is right now.
I can imagine admin team meetings with you too.
They get sidetracked quite a bit.
Yes, we get. Yes.
Sometimes she'll say, "Boys."
I was gonna ask if she referenced you as boys.
Yeah,
boys. Yeah.
So one of the boys will take care of it.
Yeah, but you need that. It goes back to laughing and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Well, kind of back to the last couple of years, we probably one of the, I would say the most frequent call we've got this past summer was social emotional. We need some of that. And so we're rushing around trying to find somebody to get to the kids, right? Social emotional. And finally, we had them, they're like, "You're not hearing us. We don't need that for the kids. We do need it for kids. Don't get us wrong. But more than that, we need it for the teachers and the staff." So do y'all feel, were y'all feeling some of that? Just how, it's just been all over the place.
In this time of COVID, I think we've gone in circles or concentric circles with different events, different situations. The thing I spoke about earlier about folks wanting to quit, folks wanting to be virtual as opposed to being on campus. Families just dealing with a whole bunch of a gambit of problems and issues. And I think we've been there to support and give our best perspectives, our best efforts at helping them with whatever. I think that's one of the things I stole from a television show. How can I help? New Amsterdam, the doctor's there. There's like, how can I help? And so I try to do that with each situation, with each family. What is it that I can do to help you get whatever it is that you're trying to do? One of the things that I just, from my perspective of looking at scores and looking at data, I think it looks probably across the state that it looks better for children to be on campus.
Right.
I think there is no substitute for having your teacher there, as I think that's why we're here, and that's the purpose. That is our purpose. So.
And the teachers thrive off of that. The stress of last year, my wife's a teacher, but working with our teachers, sometimes it was just letting them come in and vent about their 25 virtual kids, and just have to talk about. But they did a remarkable job. I know at our particular building, at a time when teachers are leaving. In 2 years, we've had no teachers leave. We had one teacher move up.
That's awesome.
And then we replaced an ag right teacher. But as far as just that's huge to be able to, one, get through something like this, but then that continuity that you have.
Oh, absolutely.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change them for the world. We have great teachers. I love each and every one of them, and I think they bring their best face every day.
And even prior to the whole COVID thing shutting down, we had the year of the previous year, we had at December went to a satellite campus, a temporary campus. So we up and leave in December, move. We show up in January at what was the old junior high, and then they work there on a temporary campus for that year. And then of course we get shut down in March, and then they're told basically go clean your rooms out by April, and we'll box your stuff up and move it out. And so they dealt with all that, and then starting a year at a new building, and so they're pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, that's a credit, honestly, for the, the folks, that they work for in the community. And, that says a lot about it, right? The community, like you're saying, home,
it's home.
They want to be there. Yeah. And if you can find those folks, I mean, that's way over half the battle. And like I said, it's been many years ago, but being in Malvern, totally got that sense. Yeah. I've worked in other districts, but the thing that I loved about Malvern, I mean, it truly feels like a community school. Everybody rallies around that school.
It's so funny you say that everything, and what I said, come full circle. My dad lives in Lansing, Michigan, and so he has a good friend that they were in the Army, Vietnam, and all of that. And we called him Uncle John. He's like a play uncle who's been with the family since we were all little or whatever. And so he saw me in a picture. I took a picture by the plaque in Malvern. Come to find out, Uncle John's from down here in this area. And Uncle John came to Malvern to see me last month. Yeah. So
small world.
So small world.
That's awesome. Do y'all still do open campus?
No, we stopped that about 3 years ago.
Poor kids.
Yeah. You might be shocked to know the incidence of kids coming back to school under the influence has gone down tremendously.
I can imagine.
And any other country.
That's one of those things I just can't believe would still be in existence. But
I don't know if too many that do it still.
No.
I know that was when I did my admin internship in Pine Bluff. That was one of the things I worked on for my internship, and they put me in charge of going to talk to the businesses, and across the board, 100% of them said yes, we want you to close your campus. Because everybody always said, all these kids, the kids go buy $1 cheeseburger and a water, and then it drives away the paying customers.
Yeah, that's totally what we did because we were always broke.
Yeah.
Well, and the other part of that was the rush to beat the clock.
Yeah.
You
got kids flying down Main Street at 55 miles an hour.
Exactly.
I eat super fast, and I always blame it on that. I'm like, it's because we had like 10 minutes for lunch. And
Family at home. We had a kid last year that go down to one of the stores. I guess one of our walkers, and he took something out of there, and so they called me. And I just went all old school on him. I walked him down there, made him apologize, then came back, called his dad, and his dad said, "Don't worry about it, Mr. Holliman. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going back down there, and he's going to apologize again." So it was like,
Yeah, was it worth it?
Yeah.
So it's one big family.
Well, guys, we appreciate you coming in. We're about ready to wrap this thing up. Again, I appreciate the heck out of what you guys do. And hopefully, I'll get time maybe to come down to the facility. I'd love to do that.
Anytime.
And love to hear some more prank stories that we probably can't talk about on campus.
Probably so.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to give Snockle some ideas. I'm just saying.
Any parting words of wisdom before we get out of here?
No, just appreciate you guys and everything you do and the support you provide for our teachers and for us and all the things you guys are doing here. I know you're always trying to find new creative ways to get to the schools, and so we just appreciate everything that you guys do.
Yeah. I do have one more. So I walk in this morning, and she's bragging she's got on her Malvern.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I meant to mention
Oh,
that.
see? Orange and black.
Just for Malvern, for y'all today. And I'm like, hey, where's
so
your
she
orange
says
and black?
to me, she says, and so do you. You've got on a black shirt. And I was like,
I mean,
no, I don't think this is black. So we took a poll in the office, and they're like, no, that's gray.
I mean, charcoal gray. Your pants
it's
are
a
gray.
charcoal.
It's
Look,
a charcoal gray.
See,
Charcoal gray.
Hey, gentlemen, would you agree that there is a hint of black in that shirt?
It's a dark gray.
Maybe the buttons.
Gray.
What
That's black. That's great.
Okay. I mean, but compared to his
Yeah.
pants,
So,
look,
It's a darker gray.
this is
Yeah, it's a
not
darker
fair.
gray.
It's
Yeah.
like 3 against 1. It doesn't
mean,
matter what I say.
What?
what are those?
The fact that you're wrong is the only thing that matters.
exactly. What are those jerseys that the Razorbacks are not supposed to wear ever again?
Anthracite.
Anthracite. That's what it
Okay.
is. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, like when you said charcoal gray, I'm like, well, technically charcoal is black, so there's
Yeah.
a
A
hint
piece
of
of
black.
charcoal is
And look,
black.
I was trying to help him out because
That-
I'm in school,
that's
y'all
that
school
math
colors.
brain.
Yeah.
She is so in or out, nothing in between.
Nothing in between.
That's
Yeah.
so
Nothing
true.
in between.
All right, guys, we appreciate you. We really do. So we'll wrap up this is, like I said, this was the, I guess what you would say, initial
Yeah.
episode
With-
1.
with somebody other than the two of us.
Yeah, spilling the tea in Studio D. Y'all got to watch it because she fusses about everything. Number 1, the headphones. Number 2, the intro. They have like a little cartoon
Let's
thing
don't
of
talk
us.
about the intro
So she fusses about the caricatures that they did. And
because my neck is huge and I have this flowery shirt on.
they took it. They took
And
it.
he's in all black.
Hey,
Took a
they
straight
took.
picture of it.
They did. They took it straight from a photograph that I think she submitted, and
Yeah.
now
Well,
she's complaining
I
about
expect
it.
next time that we come on, we'll have a caricature for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's right. We could do that.
And Ritchie, I do feel sorry for you occasionally having to put up with the manual over there. I mean, like,
Yeah,
at times
yeah.
he can be a handful.
Everybody needs a good dose. That's-
Somebody has to do it. I guess I have to.
That's right.
I'm so glad y'all are our first couple of guests.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are awesome. And
Yep.
Yes.
Knocked it
if
out.
you need anything, you guys know you can
we
holler
really
at us.
appreciate you all.
Okay.
I mean, the training that we had this summer, I really like that. Coming down with you guys and just to meet and get together. I even got to see people that I worked with previously. Billy Brazois, he's one of my old friends. So it was
Cool.
good to come down, and it's good always to have you guys around because you provide us with so much support. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I'm like, oh, Candace, and I'll say, Candace sent us this, and he's like, who? I said, Candace. And
Oh yeah,
I say
because he's
candy.
candy.
He said
Because
candy.
I mean, and that's so funny because like it's most everybody calls me Candy. Some call me Candace. It just depends. My grandmother's the only member of my family that still says Candace.
Yeah.
So, but everybody else is.
I actually called you Candace the other day, and we have a teacher named Candace. And
Yeah.
so he was confused.
I was confused.
He's
I'm
like, huh?
I was like,
Look
Yeah,
at me, and I'm
you,
like,
yeah,
I'm
you
like,
just
who are
got
you
to.
talking about? He said, Candy. I said, oh, okay.
I need to probably sign those emails and say Candace or Candy.
Man.
All right. Again, thanks for that. And then, like I said, for the first one, I think you guys knocked it out.
Heck yeah.
So I guess the expectation has been set.
Hey, Michael didn't even have to bleep me out or
That's
anything.
right. Not this time.
I know.
Okay.
Ritchie, you did good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so
All right.
very much.
All right. Until next time, we'll see you guys. Thanks.
ya.
Thank you.